Up next, Geo Bustamante.
Okay.
Geo is 36 years old. He currently lives in Honolulu, Hawaii, but he was born in Peru, raised in Miami. He is or was a project manager. We'll talk more about that in the interview. I will say that Geo is the shortest interview we have of the season, pun unintended, because he will also talk about his height as well over the course of this interview. But I think there's a lot of good stuff packed into this little 5-minute package.
Okay. All right. Here is Geo.
To start off, tell us about yourself. Give us your name, age, and occupation.
My name is Geo Bustamante. I'm 25 years. Wait, do I have to say my real age or? I'm 35 years old, and I'm a account manager for a telecommunications company. Well, was an account manager for a telecommunications company. Unfortunately, because I didn't have enough days to request off, I had to resign from my job to be here. I was born in Peru, and I'm a military spouse, so I'm a gay Latino immigrant. And I'm here to play the game, to give everything I have and leave everything on the field to win, because I don't have a choice now.
Why are you here on Survivor?
Yes.
Yeah, I told you again, a lot packed into a few questions, a lot to dissect here with Geo. Let's start with the fact that he aged himself down more than a decade when asked to describe himself.
Oh, so he's not actually 25?
He's 36.
Oh, was he joking?
I
Is that
can't
Geo
tell.
humor? Is he a prankster?
I could see he has a little bit of again, maybe he's a little bit foxy as well.
He could have fooled me.
Cleopatra.
Looking at his photo.
Yeah, but is that too much of a jump to age yourself down an entire decade? Do you want to go with 5 at most when you're asked to lie about your age?
I mean, look, go big or go home, Mike.
I mean,
what's the point of changing a year or two?
Well, he's go big or go home is very much his philosophy here, right? Because the other thing to speak about from that first answer is the fact he does not have a job to go home to.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a surprisingly rare case when it comes to Survivor, but I think it's something that should be oftentimes stated. You talk about this a lot when you speak with previous castaways on Talking with T-Bird. When it comes to returnee seasons, there's a lot of questions of why wasn't this person asked? Why did this person not say yes? It is very tough to ask a job today. Yeah, I'm going to take a month and a half off to go play a reality.
It's never been easier. The jobs are hey, okay, you'll come back. Okay, I guess do what you want.
Well, I think that depends, right? If you're working at if you're working at a McDonald's, maybe where they're very much in demand for talent, but still, it's a tough thing to do to ask for a full month and a half, including the 39 days plus the quarantine plus the post game stuff. Maybe it's also an idea that there's so much reality TV out there that it's become more of sort of okay, you get 3 vacation days, 4 6 days, and you get 6 reality TV days.
Wow.
You can just film whatever show that you need to do.
Well, look, it's nice to see that some of these companies are changing their benefit structure to include reality TV days for people.
Yeah, I am married to an HR director. I should really ask her to include that. It's speak to the culture nowadays. How many people in your company do have a desire to go on reality TV, and how many more would want to do so if you made that an option? But yeah, Geo's very upfront about how he doesn't necessarily have a job to go back to. We saw this in a very recent season of Survivor South Africa as well. I think it makes you look at the game a different way, because while there is this idea of leave it all on the field, I think there is this addition of stakes of what the hell do I have to go
this
back
is my
to?
only income. Yeah,
exactly. I gotta get the paycheck. It's the only option at this point.
Yeah, burn the bridges behind you. Quit your job before Survivor.
Exactly. That way you have nothing to go back to. It'll make you play that much harder.
That's right. Okay, let's go back to Geo.
I don't have a choice now.
Why are you here on Survivor?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I watch every single episode of Survivor. I analyzed the whole entire game.
Okay.
And Survivor, actually I've learned so much. It made me to be the person that I am today, because I grew up with all these insecurities, being gay, being Latino, having an accent. You grew up with all these insecurities, thinking that, the world looks at you on a certain way, or people laugh at you because you say things in a certain way. But Survivor is it's a place where you can be who you want to be, who you are, who you truly are. And you can still shine, you can still win, you can still be the little people and shine as bright as the strongest person in the show. So I think that's why I love Survivor. It's like life, but in a show, condensed into a little thing, into a little bottle that makes an amazing, show competition.
Why?
Potato. What do you think is the new tagline for Survivor? Survivor, it's like life, but condensed into a show.
I was going to say into a little bottle. I was going to say throwback to Cook Islands once more with the infamous bottle twist.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You'll lose Jenny Guzan Bay. Yeah.
Oh, Days Survivor. Though I think if people want a Survivor smell, that probably is not the thing you want to ideally spray around.
Not ideal. Okay. All right. Back to Geo.
Why are you here on Survivor?
Honestly, if somebody would have told me, hey, 10 years ago, you should go and apply to be on Survivor, I would have said, hell no, you're crazy. Because I was too shy back then. I had too many insecurities. But now, especially after the pandemic, I've learned so much. I've learned that you gotta do what you gotta do now, today. If you like something, forget about being shy, forget about being nervous, forget about your insecurities. Just go for it. Just live your life and be happy. Do whatever makes you happy. And I decided to take my shot and apply for Survivor because of that. So yeah, I'm still a little nervous every now and then, but I'm overcoming everything I'm overcoming all of my insecurities, basically, being here.
Give me one Survivor winner and one non-winner who you identify with the most.
Oh yes, actually I identify with a few, but okay, so I'm a small guy. I'm only 5'7". I think that Cochran will be one of them because he was also a very, at the beginning of the show, he was, he wasn't the strongest person. But he was very smart. And I think I'm very strategic because I have a lot of street smart in me. That will be one of them. I can identify with Boston Rob as well because he's very strategic. He's very cutthroat. I don't think I'll be as cutthroat as him, but I'm very strategic as well. And I'm always thinking and analyzing and planning what's my next move in the real world, I know you said two, but I have to say Sandra because I love Sandra. I know she's someone that a lot of people don't like her, but I like how direct she is. Like, she's a very strong woman. She's like the type of person that, she knows she's probably bad at challenges, but she's there and she's gonna let you know that, hey, I'm here to win, and she's the queen and she remains the queen.
What's your
Potato? Yeah, Geo did not get the assignment, I don't think.
I mean, technically speaking, Boston Rob and Sandra and Cochran have all been voted out, so they technically were non-winners at some point.
I think he thought you said give me two winners that you identify with.
That'd be an odd exercise as well.
It would be weird because he said you only wanted two, but I'm going to give you a third. And he also said that I know a lot of people don't like Sandra. I mean, where's he getting that information?
I think he's just going onto the Survivor Facebook pages during Winners at War when people were complaining about Sandra sitting out of challenges. Yeah, I agree. A little bit of an odd tapping into the vein. The mention of Cochran Rob, I think, is interesting. It did make me think about some things because Geo talked about, and I can understand now why he said Cochran, because he spoke a lot, right, about how the show taught him that insecurities can actually be a weapon to utilize rather than a shield, and that, like, winning as who you are is oftentimes the best thing to do. And it's interesting thinking about this in the fact that he didn't even see Marianne win, but I think she is probably the most recent example of this idea of, like, authenticity through your weirdness, warts and all. But it makes me realize, is Marianne the new Cochran?
In a lot of ways, I think, yes. I feel like that she's serves like that archetype of, like, super fan, comes in, a lot of energy, people got irritated with both of them early on, and so I mean, I definitely could see similarities.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. We'll see, Jeff was definitely on the Cochran train, even though he gave Cochran a ride himself one day. Definitely early on. I don't know if that's what he'll do with Marianne, but I agree with you with their own respective journeys. Now, for Cochran, it was over 2 seasons. For Marianne, it was only one, but are alarmingly similar. And again, for 43, it's not really going to happen because they had only seen about half of season 42. But I do wonder when we do this exercise for 44, like how many times someone like Marianne is going to be referenced, because she is one of the first winners in a while I can really think of, outside of maybe a Tony, of, okay, wackadoo kind of wild personality, but is able to shine, in
Mhm.
fact, because of it, not in spite of it, and do well in the game.
Yeah, most of the Survivor winners are not big personalities. That's why it took 40 seasons before they could do an all-winner season.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, much like Cochran sort of popped back then for, I think, before Adam Klein being the sort of prototype super duper nerd ending up winning the show that he cares so passionately about, I think that Marianne could represent that for the new era as well.
Okay. All right. Here is the rest of Geo's interview.
What's your favorite moment in Survivor history?
Actually, I think my favorite moment was a blind side.
Okay.
With his name was Eric, if I'm not wrong, when he gave up his immunity necklace to someone else, and he ended up getting eliminated on the spot. That was one of my favorite moments, because I love blind sides. I love things that impact the game, that makes people want to say, "Wow!" I wanna watch the next season. I wanna watch the next episode. So I'm hoping to do the same thing. Hopefully, as not something as dumb as him, but something crazy and good, that makes me win.
Is there anything else you want to mention about yourself before you begin the adventure of a lifetime?
Just remember, Geo Bustamante, I don't come to play, I come to slay.
Yes.
There you go. Now, he mentioned Sandra. She was slayed, so hopefully he's able to avenge the fallen men in that regard against all the people that hated her.
He doesn't come to play. He comes to slay. Okay. Did you get a sense for what type of player Geo is going to be?
Fantastic question. Not really. I want to pull one quote from his 1-minute video that may be able to have us ascertain something. I want to play the game hard until someone says, listen, you're playing too hard. He basically says he would rather tone it down than not do enough and have regrets afterwards. So I think if I could discern something from Geo, and even a bit from that little short interview that we had, I think he is somebody that really is looking to hit the ground running, start doing things, start making moves, because again, he has nothing to lose. He has everything to gain. And I think he wants to be able to capitalize on every single second he has out there.
Okay. What else did you take away from Geo's bio?
So what is the accomplishment you are most proud of? Being that English is my second language, I grew up in the hood and was homeless for a period of time. The accomplishment that I am most proud of is graduating with my associate's degree with a 4.0 GPA, which is
Nice.
awesome. I think we'll talk about somebody actually coming up in a couple of people who also comes from a similar background of growing up in a lower income household and working their way up from there. So that could actually be a really good connection that Geo could make here. What is something we would never know from looking at you? I grew up shy, quiet, and in my head, which made me a thinker and very analytical. People also don't see if they mess or compete with me, they will lose. A whole new alter ego comes out that turns into a beast during any competition.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
It's got a
So
Hulk side.
that could be. It's interesting, right? Because Geo is on the shorter side, so we could see him literally grow 2 feet and just absolutely Hulk out in some of these challenges. Bustamante out of those clothes.
Yep, I could see it.
Yeah, so Geo, I really don't know what to make of him, if I'm being completely honest. Maybe it's just because there's so little to go off of, even after combing through everything that we know about him. It seems like he wants to really quickly play the game. That's not something to completely write him off as a pre-merge boot. It can certainly be something that gets him in trouble, but we do see people that hustle early on sometimes end up setting up well for themselves, especially if Coco doesn't end up going to those first couple tribal councils. Again, look at someone like Drea, who was really running that Ika tribe and was probably hustling the most and ends up in one of the more well-connected positions at the merge. I think if Geo is able to like evade at the right times and
Yeah.
able to get the right yes people like a Cassidy, perhaps, I think he could do well. But then I could also see a world where like he is going way too hard, way too fast out of the game,
Yeah.
much like someone like Boston Rob, right? Who like can only really play one way, and there's a reason why he got voted out, pre-jury 3 times.
Yeah, I could see a similar situation. Like I could see him going off for an advantage or like getting the beware advantage and then not having a vote and then ending up like doing something hasty where he ends up being in a bad spot early on and tough to come back from that. So yeah, I'm not feeling great about Geo.
Yeah, if I could compare him to another 42 castaway, I feel like he has like Chanel vibes to me, right? Like where Chanel was someone who was very gamey, was very analytical, but was also doing all these bing bang boom things, right? Most memorably when she ends up risking her vote despite the fact that she
Yeah.
knew there was going to be this like 4-2 split happening and then it causes this big unprecedented tribal council. I think you bring up a really good point that with this plethora of advantages, I could see Geo absolutely going for broke. And he better hope he gets something because I would imagine that puts a target on his back. Though again, there might be larger targets. I could see a world where he ends up making it to the merge, and then like with his shorter size, he's someone who could end up making it far into the game. But I could also see an environment where Coco's going to their first tribal council. They're like, this dude Geo has run us up the wall and then some. I don't care what advantage he might have. Let's just all gang up on him.
Yeah, I don't think that he knows the show like particularly well based off of his interview. So I think that he might be a little bit like just like maybe in over his head with like jumping into the new era of Survivor, but he's the kind of person who sort of maybe like might look or leap before he looks. And I think that he could potentially end up in a bad situation early on, but maybe he ends up in a good landing spot.
Yeah, this could be a thing where sometimes people who do hustle early on and get the advantages have that sort of power, right? Look what would happen with Mike, for example, where for various reasons, yes, he lost his vote, he lost his closest ally in Jenny, but like because of the idol, I think people rallied around him to a certain extent. And if Geo is able to like find his tribe's idol, as an example, that is something he could use to weaponize slash unify the entire group around him, being like, listen, if you vote me out, I have the only idol on our tribe. And so do you really want to give away that power?
Okay. Mike, anything else about Geo?
No, I will say, 5'7". I don't know, Rob, you're the one who's played Survivor over me. Is that a below average height for Survivor men?
I mean, maybe for Survivor men, because I feel like that they tend to like you get a lot of like athletes and stuff like that. But I mean, I feel like that's not like way noticeable that is going to be like a big issue.
Yeah, that's my thing. I would say the main takeaway I have from meeting Survivor contestants, the privilege that I've had to do so over the years, is that I'd say about 80% of you are taller than you may think. There are the other ones I
Taller
think
than
are,
you think. Okay.
yeah.
I feel like that the camera always makes people look like gigantic, and then they're not as big as you think in person.
It really depends. Like Steven Fishback, for example, is a
Sure.
freaking maypole
Hmm.
comparatively to like what you may think. But I think the 20s are shorter than you probably may think. Dom and Wendell were such a formidable duo for many reasons, and the ways that they sort of like filled in each other's holes, including from a height perspective. I didn't realize until we went to the Ghost Island finale, Rob, like how much of a difference there was between them in terms of height.
Hmm. Yeah. It's hard to tell. I also find that Big Brother players tend to be taller than you think. The camera sort of like makes
Mm.
everybody seem like smaller.
Yeah, well, everyone's also lying down in Big Brother usually, so it's
Mhm.
tough to like gauge heights when they're just,
Sure.
splayed out on the bed the entire time.
Sure.